Do you think that startup ecosystem in our country is really vibrant and growing?
What do you understand by freebies? And everything that government gives for free, can it be termed as freebie?
Can you identify such regions in Bihar which are very rich culturally or maybe naturally, but the tourist attraction hasn't yet been developed?
Which major political reforms in India are being talked upon nowadays?
How do you think your education is going to help you in becoming an efficient administrator?
Sir, may I come in?
Yes, come in.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Please be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Please give a brief introduction about yourself.
So, my name is Ankur and I've been born and brought up in Patna. And after that, sir, I moved to IIT Delhi in 2013 to complete my BTech in engineering physics. And then, sir, one of the college projects which we were doing, that we converted into a startup company, sir. And last year, I joined Indian Revenue Service, Customs and Indirect Taxes. And I have taken 1 year extraordinary leave, sir.
So that startup, what has happened to the startup which you had started?
So, I have resigned from that startup and other co-founders are trying to run that and commercialize the technology which we have developed.
In which area you had started a startup company?
So we were working on the stubble burning problem. We had developed a technology to convert that stubble into paper-based items like paper plates, paper cups, etc. And our idea was that such small scale 5 tons per day, 6 tons per day kind of plants shall be installed in a decentralized fashion so that farmers are able to add value to the sources nearby to them.
So how far that startup has progressed?
So as of now, we have demonstrated the feasibility of the project by installing a pilot unit in the IIT Delhi campus itself. But the viability part is something which needs to be worked upon more, sir.
Okay, tell me, what is do you think that startup ecosystem in our country is really vibrant and growing?
So at the moment, we have the third largest startup ecosystem across the world. And over, I think 114 unicorn companies are there. And in terms of regional and technological distribution also, like around half of the startups are spread across India, not only centered around Delhi, Bangalore and Mumbai. And thirdly, we have women-based co-founders also in more than 40% of the startups. However, sir, last year itself in 2023, we saw around 75% decline in funding. So at the moment, we are seeing that the numbers are growing, but the quality is something which we can work upon, sir.
But every day 4 startups are born and 3 startups die their natural death. Why it is happening? One is funding, you said. Any other issue you can think of?
So the core rationale of startup is rather high risk, high return. And when it comes to high risk, then the such kind of eventuality are rather higher. But apart from funding, sir, there are other issues also. Like mostly startups focus on the growth aspect of it, and the profitability takes a backseat. So that in the longer run, if they are not able to convert that into a thriving business, then at some point of time funding stops coming in. And apart from that, sir, there are personal issues within the co-founders also. The team, the quality of team which is there is not very much in line with what is being tried to projected.
Do you get enough angel investors or venture capitalists in our country to support these startups?
So generally there are 2 kinds of startup. First, there is a software based startup, and the second, that is the hardware based startup. So it is relatively easy to find angel investors and venture funding in software based startup because the kind of the iteration time is very low. One can put in a certain such amount and within 6 months or 1 year of time, one can do multiple iterations of the product. But in the hardware based startup where significant cost is involved in assembling the tooling itself and not the product per se, then there we need more government grants and other deep tech funding instead of relying more on angel investors and VCs.
No, Ankur, you are a part of the government of India, already working in the Indian Revenue Service.
Sir.
Can you think of areas in the government where startups can be of use to the government?
Sir, startups are basically in any area a bulwark to prove that certain technology or certain idea can be converted into a self-sustainable business proposition. So even if we talk about, let's say, the primary sector, then at the moment we are seeing that agriculture has a lot of disguised unemployment. So using startup to, let's say, reduce the cost part For example, coming up with precision agriculture, or let's say an aggregator model for farm machinery equipments, or in fact in the marketing part also, like farm to fork model is there. Some companies are trying to do that. So that kind of things can disrupt agriculture. Same goes with manufacturing, sir.
Okay, now let's take an area of the governance. Say policing is one such area. When you think of the role of startups in the policing, and if yes, in which area of policing they can play a role?
So at the moment, I can think of like firstly for the surveillance part, one can use drones. So the quality of drones, the specific customization can be done by a startup provided to the police services. Second would be the software part, like the facial scanning and the kind of bias which is there can be customized as per our Indian needs by a startup company. Thirdly, at the moment, we are seeing that cybersecurity is one of the biggest concern. So there we can develop some kind of technology which kind of maintains a balance between security as well as digital infrastructures.
Okay, one final question. What do you mean by startup bubble?
So it is basically a rhetorical reference to an air bubble, which is hollow from within and burst after certain time. So the whole phenomena that startup is the next big thing can be referred to as a startup bubble that is allegedly focusing more on growth and funding as a parameter of success and not the profitability and the impact part, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ankur, because you have worked in startups, right? Tell me, what do you understand by funding winter, and which sector in India is currently facing the heat in this funding winter?
So funding winter is basically the cessation of the amount of funding. Like last year we saw around 70% decline in funding, mostly in late stage startups also. So that kind of thing is there, sir.
Okay, any particular sector which has been impacted the most?
Any particular sector I am not aware, sir.
Okay. What do you understand by freebies, and everything that government gives for free, can it be termed as freebie?
Sir, the essential part of government or rather governance is to provide public welfare facilities which are unviable for a common household. But freebies are those which trespasses that line and provide goods or services which are viable for a household in the shorter run also. Like for example, let's say providing bicycle or providing mobile phones or laptops. Those can be termed freebies.
Freebies. And don't you think they also have a ripple effect, like in improving the life conditions of the people?
Indeed, sir, they have a ripple effect in terms of improving the life condition of people. But what is the cost at which we are coming up with that? That is the point of concern.
Who should be the deciding authority here? Whether the government, the courts, the people, who? Whether it's a freebie or it's a welfare measure?
So I think governance is also a kind of business which is oriented towards public welfare. So it is the game of supply and demand. And I believe that it is the role of people and the government both together.
Okay. If we talk about international relations, then we have had elections in our neighborhood, right, in recent times. So can you name the countries where elections have taken place and who has come to power?
So recently Bangladesh held the elections.
Yes.
And I think yesterday or day before yesterday there was election in Taiwan, not our essential neighbor, but
Bhutan. In Bhutan also election has taken place.
Yes, Bhutan also.
So who has become the Prime Minister of Bhutan now?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not remembering the names.
And what about Bangladesh?
Sheikh Hasina, ma'am, has become the Prime Minister again, ma'am.
Okay.
Sir.
India and Maldives relations have also hit a rough patch.
Sir.
Okay. In fact, the Maldivian president has indirectly called India a bully. Do you think it is right? Do you agree with his views?
Sir, Maldives for India is a very strategically important place. And in fact, India has also provided Maldives with a lot of support, in fact, being the first responder in many situations. And therefore, such kind of remarks at a global level does not reflect the true relationship between both the nations. And in order to address those things, I think some core group have been formed where such kind of bilateral talks are.
Who is the president of Maldives?
Sir, I'm not able to remember the full name, but it's Muizu, I think.
Dr. Muizu, right. Now, you come from IIT Delhi, and which has become the first IIT to open a overseas campus?
It's the IIT Delhi itself, sir, in Abu Dhabi.
It is the second IIT. Which is the first IIT?
Sir, I'm aware that IIT Delhi and IIT Madras both were trying to open up the campuses.
So IIT Madras is the first one.
Sir.
But where IIT Madras has opened the campus?
It's in Zanzibar, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Sir.
And where is Zanzibar?
The location I'll have to check.
Okay, fine. My final question to you, you come from Bihar, and in Bihar we have seen a caste survey. There are views on both sides. People support caste survey. It leads to better policy making, which is data driven. And on the other side, people have this apprehension that it may lead to more involvement of caste in politics, and it may have some deleterious consequences. What is your view? Whether it should be conducted at a nationwide level, such caste survey which has been done in Bihar?
Sir, in my opinion, the rationale of the caste survey, basically evidence-based policy making, is rather bona fide and should be something which can be encouraged. But the kind of risk which is associated with that, say for example, being used in as a voting tool, as a
vote bank politics.
As a vote bank politics. So that is something which can be avoided. And I think that if we can rely on the socio-economic caste census data or other data which are already there, then that is something which should be encouraged more.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ankur,
Ma'am.
you mentioned that your startup is trying to find solutions to stubble burning.
Ma'am.
Now, this problem hasn't found a proper resolution as of now. You are providing one alternative, but why is this problem becoming so persistent despite having such adverse impacts environmentally in this region?
Ma'am, there are several reasons of such kind of increased stubble burning. The primary reasons in the short run are basically the legislative. There is an act which the Punjab Water Conservation Act, which limits that the sowing season will be extended to, let's say, 1.5 months or 1 month. Only they can sow after the monsoon comes. And secondly, the issue of free and subsidized power rates. So those have been the fundamental factors, but the essential core reason is the over reliance on paddy and wheat based system, and that has been because of the guaranteed market availability by the MSP prices.
And this being banned under various provisions, stubble burning, and it's almost criminal now to burn stubble, and yet farmers continue to do it. Do you think that the administrative system or the authorities are lax in implementation of the provisions?
Ma'am, in my experience while working the startup, I have two opinions. The first is that whenever we visited those farmers, if I may quote them, they said कि धुआं पहले हमारे घर में जाता है, फिर it goes to Delhi. So they are more than motivated to not burn the straw. But as far as the blanket ban is concerned on the stubble burning, I believe that that can be enforced only if we have sufficient alternatives to uptake those straw for value addition. Like we are working on bioethanol, biobriquettes, other
biofuels. Okay. Now you're coming from Bihar, and a particular species that is Ganga dolphin has been really popular from Bihar. Can you tell me its unique features? Why is it so popular?
I am aware about the dolphin in general, that it represents the quality. It is a proxy for the quality of good water.
Okay, yes, it's a freshwater dolphin. Can you tell me other freshwater dolphins, in case you know?
There is dolphin in Bees River.
Indus water dolphin.
Indus water dolphin. And I think there are dolphins in the rivers which passes through Myanmar. I'm not
Irrawaddy. Okay.
Irrawaddy.
Yeah, close. Which are the steps that government has taken for preservation of and conservation of these dolphins?
Ma'am, one thing I can remember is I think the Dolphin Research Center has been set up. And secondly, by programs like Namami Gange and other water conservation schemes, we are trying to improve the quality of water as such.
Right. The government is trying to identify the lesser known tourism spots and try to put focus of the public so that they become the new tourist hotspots. Can you identify such regions in Bihar which are very rich culturally or maybe naturally, but the tourist attraction hasn't yet been developed? So can you name some of these destinations?
Ma'am, my native place Vaishali is there. So we have a very low number of teachers.
Mhm.
Secondly, if we talk about then there are I think village tourism is something which can be focused on,
Mhm.
not specifically any areas, but in general as a concept.
Mhm.
And thirdly, if we talk about ecotourism, then Camood Hills or rather the national park in the north, Valmiki National Park. So such kind of forest camping can be improved, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Ankur.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ankur, if we do talk about FTPT, first past the post system, as the procedure to elect the parliamentarians and your state legislative assembly members, can you suggest some alternative mechanism which could be more representative in its letter and spirit?
For the first past the post system, sir?
Yeah, in place of, if you have to replace it, because it is said from certain quarters of academia and other people that it does not represent the whole spirit of the people in that particular constituency.
So proportional representation would be one which can be considered as an alternative, because like in the first past the post system, there is a risk that even the minority percentage of vote gets converted into electoral seats, which is not there in the proportional system. But there is a risk associated with that also, like there are higher chances that always coalition government and another weak government will be formed.
So can be a blend, something of the system could be developed with that of proportional representation and FTPT?
I believe so, sir, that there can be something which can be worked upon on basis of our current demography, sir. But
if we think about some political reforms in India, which major political reforms in India are being talked upon nowadays?
So simultaneous election is one, and reforms in the anti-defection law would be another.
We were talking about some the method through which election commissions would also be elected. So there is a controversy. Why this sort of the controversy has been erupted, and what is the take of the Supreme Court on that?
Sir, in our constitution, it has been mentioned that the election commissioners.
There is some amendment which has been proposed by the government.
Sir,
that has been like the part of contention on certain quarters.
So the Supreme Court ruled out, made a rule that the Prime Minister, leader of opposition, and the Chief Justice of India shall make a committee for appointing the election commissioners. But government came out with a law that instead of the Chief Justice of India, there will be a cabinet minister, and along with the appointment committee, there will be a search committee headed by I think joint secretary or secretary level people. Those will provide recommendations of certain names. So I think that is the core of the controversy, and Supreme Court has itself said that their role was to act as a to provide a transient mechanism so that Parliament comes out with a law.
Right. Since you must be living in Delhi for a long, so Delhi is also witnessing its own master plan 2041. Have you gone through this draft?
Sir, I have not gone through the draft.
Okay, fine. So for women's safety, certain mechanisms have been made into this particular draft, and various stakeholders have been asked upon to tender their suggestions. So to make this particular city safer for the women's participation into the public workforce, which kind of the suggestions could have been there?
So my answer would be speculative in nature because I have not gone through the draft.
Go on.
So the first point which I can think of is to improve the access of police stations and make it more women friendly. Let's say by installing a police officer lady police officer which specifically takes care of women based requirements. Second would be there are streets. I read in newspapers that there are still streets and roadways which are not lighted up in the night. So that is something where CCTV cameras and other things can be improved upon. And thirdly, sir, like the public transport system, buses, or in general, I think metro also, special schemes have been provided for women. There is a separate coach.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ankur, I see that you have done your graduation in a very specialized subject. However, when it comes to bureaucracy, we need more of a generalistic mindset. How do you think your education is going to help you in becoming an efficient administrator?
Sir, I have done my graduation in engineering physics, and that is in fact the best of engineering and physics. So on one hand, it provides a sense of specialization in physics, but on the other hand, it has also provided the abilities of analytical skills, understanding the problems, and to be able to have a logical thinking to solve that. So I believe such kind of learning can be applied in day-to-day administration, sir.
Okay, so tell us what is your opinion on lateral entry into the civil services, where we can directly recruit specialist people into the services?
So as we are progressing into the digital age, it is very much required that we have a balance of generalists as well as experts. And therefore, I am of the opinion that lateral entry and other such schemes should be encouraged, and even at smaller levels also, like at district levels, we can have independent consultants from the private bodies, but due care should be taken to avoid any kind of conflict of interest, sir.
Okay, great. Can you tell us about some of the physicists from India and their contribution in the global scientific landscape?
First would be, sir, Dr. C.V. Raman. For the Raman effect, he got the Nobel Prize. Next would be, not in a sequential order, but Professor H.C. Verma. He has pioneered a scientific education system. And
any women physicist?
I'm not able to recall the name, sir. I'll go and check, sir.
Okay. Why is it that India is not able to produce many Nobel laureates?
Sir, firstly, the kind of funding we have in research is very low, like of the order of 0.6% of our GDP. And secondly, at the moment, we have a wide gap between our industries and academia. So most of the research work does not get translated into the kind of impact which it can make. So, and thirdly, in order to do some novel research, we need interdisciplinary approach to certain problems, which I think something which can be worked upon, sir.
So do you think our new education policy is going to help us achieve this goal in near future?
I believe so, sir.
Okay, thank you. My next question to you, what is spiritual tourism?
If I can think of, then it would be, for example, going to a place for, let's say, healing and meditation, mindfulness, such kind of activities would be termed as spiritual tourism.
Okay. Of late, we are witnessing a proliferation of such wellness centers, which often claim to provide services based on ancient practices. Do you think that this has led to the commercialization of our spiritual practices and the original intent of wellness is maybe lost somewhere?
Sir, I think it is very context specific. Like there may be certain companies who are perhaps not following the spirit of such kind of ancient practices, but on the other hand, using such kind of commercialization, we have been able to, let's say on the first hand, market the yoga from India on, sir. So I think we can form some kind of a framework or rules which can get a balance between the kind of marketing and the kind of spirit and gist of the ancient technology, sir.
Okay. If we talk about India, India's foreign policy outlook has seen a major shift in the last decade. Can you quote a few instances where this shift is explicitly visible? We are doing something now that we were not doing earlier.
Sir, earlier our intention was towards non-alignment. Now our intention is towards multi-alignment. So instead of being away from the geopolitical scenarios, now we are involving on the basis of our own strategic autonomy. So be it purchasing oil from Russia, or be it openly talking about the cessation of violence in Russia-Ukraine war, or whether be in Israel-Hamas. So that would be one. And secondly, sir, at the moment we are also projecting ourselves as the voice of the global south, and the success of the G20 event is an example of that, sir.
Okay, Ankur. My final question to you. Honesty is a trait that often puts people into vulnerable situations.
Sir.
Then what is the point in being honest?
Sir, in many situations, or basically we as a human stand for an idea that represents our identity, and being honest and being an integral person provides a sense of consistency in our being. So that kind of reflects that we are self-aware, and whatever we are saying, whatever we are feeling, that has a substance to it. So that kind of increases the value of an individual in one's own eyes and in the society in general, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ankur, you are undergoing training as a income tax probationer, you said, no?
Sir, I have taken an UL, sir.
You
Excellent,
have
sir.
taken, okay. You have not undergone training.
No, sir.
So you must have some idea about the working of income tax. It has been doing quite lot good works. How the department has been able to address the issue of corruption till date?
Sir, firstly, I have joined the customs and indirect taxes.
But you have joined customs.
Sir.
Okay. That's what I asked you this question. The customs or income tax. Okay. Customs, anyway, as because you have not have the working experience, I will not ask you any questions on that. You must have heard about Mission Karma Yogi,
Sir.
Isn't it? Now tell me, it aims to promote a culture of continuous learning. So how this continuous learning can be achieved?
Sir, there is a portal on which one can do courses depending on the attachments which one goes, to be able to best suit the requirements there. And secondly, the idea of Mission Karma Yogi is to be dispassionate about one's own identity and be passionate about one's own work. And that reflects in learning not from the courses, but from the people also, by stakeholder consultation and by in-field trainings, etc. Sir.
How is this is going to help the quality of governance?
So firstly, it would be a more consultative based mechanism, and secondly, the focus would be on a role based order instead of a rule based order. So it will increase the quality of public service delivered to the last mile, because now it is up to the implementer to implement the rules and laws in spirit. Like for example, if there is somebody who does not has an Aadhaar card but is very evident that he or she needs the food benefits, then it is the responsibility, or rather the role of that particular government employee to provide with such kind of benefits. And it is his training, or rather the attitude from Mission Karma Yogi, that he has to find a solution to provide such kind of benefits.
But don't you feel that there is a plethora of rules governing decision making by the government functionaries? So it becomes very difficult for a government servant to strike a balance from switching over from rule based to role based.
It would be a kind of attitudinal change, sir.
Okay. You also write Hindi poems
Sometimes, sir.
sometimes. कोई कविता सुनाइए 4 लाइन जो बहुत ही प्रिय हो आपको, very close to your heart.
So I generally write on the contradictions and dilemmas which I face. So it goes like कि शोर है, संगीत है, आप ही का आपसे ही कैसा अद्भुत रीत है, क्या जानता हूँ खुद को मैं, पहचानता हूँ खुद को मैं, क्या जानता हूँ खुद को मैं, पहचानता हूँ खुद को मैं, मुलाकात क्या कम होती है, जब होती कुछ नम होती है, संघर्ष है या यही धड़ा, संघर्ष है या यही धड़ा, दो रस्ते पे मैं खड़ा, मैं अभी मुझी में बाकी हूँ, संघर्ष भी है तो काफ़ी हूँ, अब देखेंगे या दिखाएंगे पर पार घाट तो जाएंगे.
बहुत बढ़िया. Thank you, Ankur. It was nice interacting with you. The
Thank you,
interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sit down, Ankur.
Thank you, sir.
This is going to be your second interview, Ankur.
Sir.
And which attempt?
Third attempt, sir.
Third. How much marks did you get the last time?
173, sir.
170. You had come here also last time, if I am not mistaken.
Yes.
173. Ankur, you are capable of getting better marks than what you got last time, 173. Capable of getting 185 also, 190 also.
Sir.
So this time when you go for the interview, I personally feel that some questions will be revolving around your working of the customs department, even though you have taken leave, extraordinary leave and all that, but some questions will be there.
Sure, sir.
So GST, read thoroughly,
Sir.
since its inception, the act and all that, and constitution of GST council and all. And issues like why should we have only 4 slabs? Why can't we have more slabs? Issues like why important commodities like electricity and petroleum products should not be brought under the ambit of GST. What are the pros and cons of that?
Sir.
And then devolution of how state GST works, how central GST works, how this amount is divided between the two entities. What are the issues involved in that also? Why some states, it says states are not happy with this kind of a formula. So some questions, my feeling, gut feeling is that will be on that. And then there is a system of taking input credit.
Sir.
Input credit is a big racket in the department. somebody may ask you what is the concept of input credit, why you have paid the tax, why you want to take back the tax. You take the tax, you make us liable only for the finished product. Why, like a building is constructed, you purchase cement, you pay tax on that, you purchase your MS rods and all that, steel. So you, and then when the building is constructed, then you take input credit for the tax which you have already paid, because there also you are paying a tax. You can't be a double taxation. So that is what is called input credit tax. There is a lot of issues with that. So just have a bird's eye view, because you have not been working there, nitty-gritty may not be known to you, but at least as a member of your customs service, because you have already joined and taken leave.
Sir.
You are supposed to be. That is one. Again, Bihar is your happy hunting ground for everybody. So a lot of questions will be asked on Bihar, starting from liquor prohibition, starting to backwardness of Bihar, to why things don't work there, and why private investment is not taking place, and governance issues of Bihar, and then socio-economic issues. The Niti Aayog releases some reports and all that. Where does Bihar stand on the ladder, and why it is happening? And if you go to Bihar, what are the important areas where you think you can contribute with your kind of background and all that? So it's because it was basically an agrarian society.
Sir.
What are needed in the agriculture, agro-based industries, animal husbandry, pisciculture, sericulture, so on and so forth, cash crop and all that. So make a comprehensive note on that, what needs to be informed to the board.
Sure,
okay, when such questions are asked. Then you have a Ganga Vilas cruise there. Dolphin is, I thought that you would be knowing about, there's a entire Gangetic belt between Bhagalpur and Sultanganj,
Sir.
which falls in the Gangetic belt. It's a declared Gangetic belt for protection of this thing, your dolphins. So read about that. That is important thing. And otherwise, you have answered well the questions related to Bihar. But prohibition related some questions will generally is asked. Maybe I mean you may have to face with this kind of a question. And then Ganga Vilas cruise, when Bihar there is a ban on liquor, and this provides liquor. How are you going to strike a balance between the two when it passes through the jurisdiction of Bihar and all that? And otherwise, they have gone through this process, and then startup is of course have some data at you available with you. So the data you will be getting on government sites and all that. Look for data. What are the areas you have already explained to us, software, hardware and all that. Many other areas also startups have been trying to come out. So some success stories, some failures, and what lessons to be learned from such successes and failures of startups. Then pre-seed, seed, you must be aware of about all that. What is crowdfunding, what do you mean by angel investor and all that. And then series A, series B, series C, at what place you are, at what place of company, growth of the company, you start raising series and all that. So that is another area. Otherwise, wonderful candidate. IIT Madras, some factual information, current affairs, because you are from the IIT, and
yes,
some questions on the IIT may be asked about the suicides in the IITs or dropout rates in the IIT. And then do you think IITs are overrated in our country?
Sir.
And then the foreign universities coming to India, setting their campuses, what kind of impact is going to make to the IITs? Why can't we have more of the IITs or this quality, or why the new IITs have compromised the quality? All the general questions are there,
sure,
which will be asked. But maintain your personal integrity while answering questions, and honesty of purpose. That is very important.
Yeah.
That should never ever be compromised. And balanced views in a very clear, confident manner. You are confident, your communication skill is excellent, your body language is very positive, your you engage in animated discussion also, that is very good. So those are all positive points in you. and if it is a good day, you may get 180, 85, 90 also. Wish you all the best for our side. If you have any specific question to ask, feel free to ask.
So any specific issues while communicating my views, like
No, like
fumbling and all?
IIT Madras and IIT, you got confused. You said Saudi Arabia. Then the member had to prod you. You don't know, this is that is second IIT. This is the first IIT. That kind of a thing.
Sir.
There's some confusion in your mind. The spiritual tourism also, you spoke about wellness and all that. Religious tourism is also has its own importance.
So
If you give very crisp answers, so all points will come to your mind. Just collect your thoughts for a while and then start speaking in a very crisp manner, focused manner. That is what is required. Otherwise, no doubt about your capabilities. You have immense capabilities, and if it is a good day for you, you will get very good marks. Okay, all the best.
thank you, sir.